Welcome to the morning shoot around here on the Athletic NBA Daily's YouTube page. If you're listening to this on the podcast feed, get on over to the YouTube page, hit subscribe, like a video. Hey, maybe even just leave a comment, maybe even a nice one if you're feeling that way. With me, I've got Dave DuFour, Baraheni, and Zena will join us later on. But I've been consuming so much NBA coverage over the last several days and just made me think, hey, what does the West even look like now? Because people will just throw stuff around. They'll just say stuff about teams, and what does it actually mean?
Including me, by the way.
I was
I've
about
just
to
been
say
saying all kinds of stuff. I was like, man, the Nuggets, are they the best team in the West now? I don't know.
Absolutely. We're here to try to contextualize what's happened over the last few days. There could be more trades, obviously, that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as free agency, I don't know if there's anything major that's going to happen.
Yeah,
shape things.
The chat already telling us about a piece from Shamit Dua, which I haven't read yet.
So let me read you a quick
please.
excerpt.
Please.
It's so good. It's so good.
The Hawks could not believe their good fortune. While the Pelicans would spend the next 24 hours facing enormous backlash for their reckless decision-making, Hawks executives weren't shy about sharing their details behind the deal's lopsided structure with rival teams. One Eastern executive with knowledge of how the conversation went from Atlanta's perspective described a perplexing scene. When Senior Vice President Troy Weaver made the call to Atlanta's Bryson Graham, Graham couldn't believe what was being offered. Graham asked for clarification multiple times to confirm the unprotected pick was indeed part of the deal. It got to the point where Hawks general manager Onsi Saleh called Joe Dumars directly to confirm himself. The Hawks waited nervously for Dumars to confirm, hoping he would not realize what was going on and walk the trade back. But the Pelicans persisted, and the Hawks got their deal. That is from Shamit Dua. He has a great Substack that I highly recommend you guys subscribe to. In the know. But yes, shout out to Shamit, and that is exactly how it went down. So
I imagine that's how it went down. How else would it go down?
Sure? Are you sure?
How else would it go down? It was such an unbelievable. Again, this is if the Luka Doncic trade didn't happen, this is the trade that we're calling the dumbest trade of the last decade. And it's just insane. It is insane.
It's too cautious on my side for the Hawks. You know what I mean? Like they should just be like, "Yep, let's sign it." And then you huddle up with your group and you're like, can you believe this is happening? Can you believe that they're, instead they are being so kind to Joe Dumars in this moment, like calling him personally and saying, hey man,
are you
sure that this is, hey, are you sure that this is what you're doing?
There's another part of this piece that I won't read out because it's longer, but it's about how basically everybody is speculating that Troy Weaver is actually running the show in New Orleans because
that's
basically
undeniable.
Basically everybody is now calling New Orleans thinking they can get one over on the Pelicans.
Dude,
they did with the Pistons.
Got somebody that's from the DC area on your squad, give them a call.
Emmanuel Quickly. Hello, folks.
There you go.
You are going to get just a boatload for whoever it is. Yeah, Quickly. This is a great time. If you want to get off the Quickly contract.
Quickly for Trey Murphy, man.
It's time.
Straight up.
Just send him what Quickly's zip code is when he was growing up, and you'll be able to make it happen.
Oh my God.
I mean, listen, 804 right down the road. So if Troy Weaver's looking for somebody to sign to a 10-day, I'll take that money.
You should let him know. You should let him know you're from Virginia.
Let him know. Be like, hey, you want to get me in that front office? What do you want to do?
That's how it works.
I mean, apparently that's how it works.
I love how we've started this. So
Mike Weisberg got us going this morning.
Yes, thank you, Mike.
I appreciate you, Mike.
Okay, so the purpose of this shoot around, this podcast, this stream is to rank the West. And so I have 5 tiers. We've got the tanks, which we'll start with first. We have the play-in teams. We have the dark horses. Like the 4, 5, 6, 7-ish range. We have the fringe contenders and we have contenders. So let's start with the tanks, guys. Who's tanking?
Well, that's the question, right?
we can make our like sub. We can make our rankings within the tiers because listen, I'm not going to do the whole Seth part now. Oh, it's not a ranking. We're going to do rankings and tiers. Okay.
Oh wow, shots fired at Seth.
I'm not. Yes, shots fired.
You even did the voice.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing the cop out. Well, these are tiers. They're not a ranking. No, these are rankings and tiers. All right.
These are tiers meant to give you tiers, especially the first one.
Like no more.
So can we get it out of the way?
Well, I want to talk about this tanking thing because, well, obviously the Jazz are dead last in the West, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
we're all on the same page. But are they the only team that's actually tanking in the West?
There are silent tankers in the West. I think.
Okay,
the Jazz,
Pelicans are going to be bad, but they're not. They're trying to be
not
good,
intentionally tanking.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the Jazz are the only intentional tank that we know.
I agree.
Of, right.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. I expect these other teams to just be bad.
Yes.
On accident. Like trying the opposite.
Well, dude,
Utah, they're bad on purpose.
Think about it like this. Like whoever is at the bottom of this conference has to play the rest of these teams 4 times, right? Or like at a minimum 3 times. And that, to me, you're just in the position to tank otherwise. Utah's the worst, though. There's no chance that Utah ends up even. What are we doing? Over under on 20 games for the Jazz to win.
Under.
Yeah,
I'm going under. Yeah.
Again, man, it's wide open in the East. I think the West, like you look at how competitive it is and how many teams actually think they have a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Utah might win 15 games.
Yeah,
God, that would rock.
They're gonna start 2 rookies, right? I mean, as long as everybody stays put, they're not gonna be involved in some sort of trade, but they're probably gonna start 2 rookies as guards.
Listen,
it'd be awful.
Sign Poku. Bring him on in. Bring him on in. We got Zena Keita here.
Zena.
We just started making our tier rankings here. We're starting with the tanking teams. I don't think this team is tanking, but they're tanking. Sacramento Kings.
Oh, you have them 14th?
Are you
interesting?
Yeah. I would put the Pelicans 14.
Well, okay, because yeah. I have the Pelicans 14th as well.
Talk to me.
What is on the
Pelicans? I think is kind of obvious. I mean, what we've just seen in the last 10 days is unparalleled.
Roster. I understand. Like I hate everything they've done.
Yeah, Jordan Poole is going to be their starting point guard, I'm assuming.
Right. And how many games is Zion Williamson going to play?
That's
a great question.
How do those pieces that they just picked up even fit?
They're going to start 2 rookies. Are they going to start?
They're starting Kevon Looney. Actually, that I heard that the part of the reason that Looney is there is because he's going to have the opportunity to start. He's not going to back up.
Good for you.
So the Rockets were interested in Kevon Looney, but Kevon Looney didn't want to necessarily go. I mean, the opportunity to make a tiny bit more money and also not be a backup
instead of Capella.
Yeah, instead of Capella. Yeah.
Okay.
But instead of going there and being a backup, he wanted a chance to start. And
anybody
he's going to get it in New Orleans.
I did hear if that is true, I commend him. I commend him for asking for that because he made no stink about it in Golden State about Trace Jackson Davis and then eventually Quentin Post starting over him. So, okay. Yeah. But I still am looking at that backcourt in New Orleans and trying to figure out
they might have a defensive rating of 130. Like who's their best?
The worst.
Who is the second best defender on the Pelicans? We know the best defender. It's Herb Jones.
Who's second best?
Murph.
Trey Murphy.
Murph. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
They are not good.
What's the Kings backcourt situation?
Dennis Schroeder and Zach LaVine.
Yeah, it's going to be so much better than the Pelicans.
But that's actually a good question.
I think is also pretty
Dennis Schroeder and Zach. I mean, I think I would take the Sacramento backcourt over New Orleans in terms of 2-way.
Sure. Yeah. That's like deciding like what gas station sandwich you want the most. Like, come on.
Always go with the gas station cheeseburger. By the way,
that's
really? I don't eat cheeseburgers anymore. But
you want the ham and cheese or the turkey and cheese gas station sandwich? Like, which one do you want?
Sandwich? That bread is so wet.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
This is solidly.
This is. That's what we're deciding.
Wait,
The
have you
Kings-
guys
the
had that
Kings are wet
hamburger in the
bread.
plastic wrap, like the one that comes in the can? You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah, at the gas
Yeah.
station. Don't have that.
Pop that thing in the microwave, and somehow the bread is hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never ever.
That is the Sacramento Kings right there. Yeah.
I really hate you guys for this right now.
Oh
I'm
yeah, it's
so
awful.
nauseous.
Well, now
And I'm drinking a protein
eating.
shake, so it's like, ugh.
I like to road trip. I've stopped eating fast food completely. Like, and I mean, we've talked about this. Like, I've basically become a pescatarian, and I will tell you what I do not miss the gas station burger. I thought I would, because it's sort of this like road trip rite of passage. You share one with the dogs.
I always thought it was a hot dog, but
I don't know what you're talking about, Dave.
yeah, I've never.
You're going to, okay, you got to go to the truck stops, not like regular gas stations, number one, because the food at a truck stop is always going to be a little bit better.
I remember I had some great tacos at a gas station once.
You will get a surprisingly good burger at like a Love's truck stop.
Mm.
Dude,
Oh, I've heard Love's is incredible. You Americans really love your gas stations, man. They are like it's it's like a
country.
Walmart. It's
Love's is not incredible. Love's is
Love's
not
is standard. Love's is standard.
that's
Love's
crazy to me.
Love's is not good.
You could like talk
Right.
about a Buc-ee's, you know,
Right.
in the South.
On
That could be.
Like don't talk to me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I saw a video of like this gas station that basically was the size of a Walmart.
Buc-ee's.
And
No, that's like
A
Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
So that
Texas,
was a Buc-ee's.
yeah.
You could spend
Yeah.
like a day
Wait.
there. Right. Get a haircut.
Andrew, who was the was it a gas station that sponsored the jersey logo for OKC?
Yeah, it's Love's. Yeah,
Oh, right.
It is Love.
right.
Okay, that's what I make
it
sure.
is Love's.
Shout out Loves, man.
Shout out to the Love family. They're
Mm.
Anyways, this is the gas station category of
yeah, we should make this.
We need it sponsored. Again, I'm going to be driving to Vegas in a week. So any maybe BP executive that's watching the show, give us my preference would be if an EV maker, wanted to sponsor the trip out. I would drive that. Yeah.
Shout out to Bob Morkia, who's sponsoring my trip out to Vegas.
Big shout out to
Yeah.
Bob.
Somebody got a
Someone is mowing their lawn.
Oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. Let me go fix that real quick. I'll
Yeah.
be right back.
Welcome to the morning shoot around.
I'm fine switching these if we want to switch them.
I'm voting to switch.
I think they're
Pelicans
listen.
will be worse.
Yeah, I think Pelicans are worse than the Kings. That's
That
the order I
Domas
have.
is like the best player
Yeah.
of anybody on either. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, DeMar DeRozan still plays for the Kings. Like they still have
We don't know
some
how long.
quality guard play.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he's Miami's backup, right? So
Mhm. Yeah.
Miami didn't get their guy.
Also,
so maybe
it
they're gonna
feels
get
like
DeRozan.
the Kings might get Kaminga at some point. I saw some reporting on that yesterday.
They put together a very weak package, like super weak. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see.
Yeah, that's
Well, at this,
It's
honestly,
a sign and trade though. Like, what do you can't get much. You know
you
what I
can't
mean?
get.
Well,
much.
yeah, exactly. So
I just
we'll see.
wonder. I wonder what kind of money Kaminga winds up with, like where that number winds up. That's
22.
Is that what people are saying right now?
No, I'm just making a guess here based on
Yeah.
like the big market. 22.
I feel like that's a pretty good deal, honestly. If
Mhm.
somebody gets him at that money, I mean, he's so young, and he clearly has. There's some potential there. I mean, he's been in a weird situation his whole career. I mean, his role changed week to week, sometimes day to day. It even felt like. So I don't know. I'm not convinced that it's a bad move to throw that money at him. I just don't think. I don't know what the Kings are doing. Like why the Kings would be going after him. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
so I want to stop you there because at this point, like, what is the best situation for Jonathan Kaminga? Like, we talk about him as being like this young, talented guy. He's got all this potential, all this stuff. Where is
Utah
he to become? Okay, so you're talking about he can be the somebody has to score the points guy.
Tank commander.
Yep.
Okay, so is that really? I mean, I don't know. If that's the situation.
I think
that we're in. I don't know.
Optimistically about Kaminga, the goal would be to go somewhere where he can stretch his legs offensively, and hopefully through that process he realizes like a effective, efficient version of his game that can eventually lead to him playing for a good team. That's like the best case scenario in my opinion.
Memphis
I think we're
would have been a great
really
spot
maybe.
somehow.
I think we're underestimating what Jonathan Kaminga can do heavily. Jonathan Kaminga also, of course, can score the bucket. I mean, score the ball really, really well. But he was also a solid on-ball defender. In space, team defender, struggled figuring out exactly where he should be. But on ball could definitely got better in terms of his foot speed and being able to stay in front of somebody and making life hell. That's one of the reasons why Jalen Green really struggled against the Warriors this season, was Jonathan Kaminga being able to handle that. And he did this significantly throughout the playoffs. Not this past year, but years before. So I just feel as if some team, and I think at this point, the Warriors, like, I don't know how long it can take you to figure out what role you want, but I'm kind of hoping at least that what happened with Ty Jerome, in that, he was kind of utilized as a backup. He was, he had a secondary role with the Warriors. He goes to Cleveland and kind of gets unlocked in a bigger, still secondary, but still in a bigger role. I'm hoping that can happen at least the first season with Jonathan Kaminga, because I do, and I'm curious what you guys think about this. I do think there's something to be said about players leaving the Warriors outside of Kevin Durant, players leaving the Warriors and kind of having a stamp on them that if you couldn't make it in the Warrior system, we don't know how to use you. We don't know what to do with you. Like, a lot of players leave that system and can't find success, especially young players like Jacob Evans III, Patrick Baldwin Jr. I mean, Brian Rollins was able to find some success in Milwaukee. Awesome. But, Jordan Poole being relegated over to Washington. Like, there's been a lot of young talent to go elsewhere and not find immediate success other than Ty Jerome. And I really hope that happens for Jonathan Kaminga wherever he lands. And I could see him in New Orleans. I could see him in a Memphis. I could see him in a team that likes to run and go. But the only reason I say Memphis or NOLA is hard is because they need as much spacing as possible. And right now, Jonathan Kaminga doesn't provide that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think about Kelly Oubre if I'm thinking about Kaminga.
Same.
Like, Oubre and
that's a great point too.
Are very similar in that they are just like, hey, let me cook kind of guys that when it comes down to it, and Oubre's done a really good job of this in Philly. It's like, hey, Kelly, you've got like 3 jobs. Okay. And Kaminga's he's far away from becoming that. It took Kelly lots of stops to become the player he is today.
That's the point. Exactly. Exactly.
To me, it's not about it's never been about the skill level. It's never been about the scoring. It's never been about the body type. He has everything that you would want. And the reason he fell in the draft was because of his mentality and because of his willingness to be the teammate that everybody wants him to be.
Yeah.
And those are the reasons why he's still in restricted free agency. He hasn't signed an extension. The Warriors know they have this talent, but they also know they can't really move forward with him either. And so they're caught in this in between with him. And now it's like, hey, who wants the guy who's immensely talented?
Damn.
Is going to not be good for your team culture immediately. I think
I don't know where that comes from. All the Warriors say that he's the best teammate. Like, he's a great teammate.
Of course they do. Like, they're trying to get rid of him.
Sure. But I'm saying this, like, even in year 2, year 3, like, everyone talks about, like, the coaching staff, everyone, like, in casual off the record kind of conversations where I'm just talking about JK, no one has anything bad to say about him.
It's not him.
So I don't know where that
person. It's not him being a bad person.
Yeah.
It's him. It is like totally like how he fits on the basketball court. And
I mean, I've heard stuff.
And I think that's fair. I think that clarity has to be made, though.
Yeah.
I think that
just somebody that doesn't know where he sits on the basketball court yet.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. I think that's a very valid assessment of him. I think when people say, like, oh, how is he as a teammate? That has permeated. I think that concept, without the context of on the floor versus off the floor, has also permeated. It's been a thing that's been around his personality. This is not we do not want to talk about Jonathan Kaminga all day long.
Hey,
Although he's the most interesting guy left.
Yeah, he is.
Right? Absolutely. And he's a swinging piece right now.
I'll just say this right now. The way that Andrew described him, and I made a joke earlier in the comments saying Kaminga is forward Ayton. that really describes the Ayton situation in Phoenix. If you remember, he was a restricted free agency, wildly talented, got that offer sheet from the Indiana Pacers. Eventually, like, it got to the point where with the organization, it just wasn't feasible anymore. And so he got traded to the Portland Trailblazers. There is also this like cloud over Ayton's head of like what kind of buy-in he has, how locked in he is, how good of a defender he can be, how he can use his talents. It's not about him as a person, but it's just
although the Blazers start putting that stuff out there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
They
started say that about Ayton too, and I think the Suns said this about Ayton about how he showed up off the court and if he like being on time, being respectful of those type of things. So I feel like those. You're absolutely right in terms of the basketball aspect of it, but I think I am always like very sensitive to the Jonathan Kaminga narrative around him being like a bad person because we hear it a lot in the Bay Area of like, oh, he's selfish, he's this, he's that. And they've used what Andrew was saying about dropping in the draft to say that, like that was a conversation being had with GMs that he's not a good character person. And that is like where I'm like always like, hold on, let me raise my hand. I got to say something about that. But anyways,
yeah, it's just more about fit and like that. It's becoming more important. And as you are spending tens of millions of dollars in this new cap environment, it just means more. Like you have to have everybody pulling on the same rope, or else you become a gas station sandwich team. Okay, that's just what happens.
There you go.
Any other teams that belong in this tier? I mean, Phoenix is.
I'm ready to put Phoenix there.
I would put the Suns in there too. Yeah,
because they're not. Again, they're just bad. They're not even tanking. They're just bad.
They're just not good.
Playing. Not going to be good. Who's their like?
Chris Paul is probably going to end up being their point guard.
Like? Right.
Mark Williams is going to be their center. They're going to have Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green and Devin Booker. That'll probably win them 30 games, 33 games, something like that. But that is. Yeah.
It's wild though that I naturally just have them below the Blazers, which I did not expect when we started this.
I'm going to put the Blazers dangerously high here today. I'm just letting you guys know. I'm just letting you guys know how
this year's Pistons for S is going to be the Blazers. Don't do that to yourself, man. I've seen this play out too many times. The West is too good. It's not the East.
I know. The East version of this will be Atlanta, but I think we're all aligned.
Yeah. Well, we were on Atlanta last year. I liked where Atlanta was going.
I think I think Atlanta was in a good position last year too.
Yeah. I like new GM, but it's a continuation of what they were building on. Like I actually think Atlanta's had a good couple years.
They just had injuries. Yeah.
Yep.
Can I argue? Okay, the only other team that like might be bad that I'm kind of curious about where you guys stand on is the Memphis Grizzlies. Like they obviously have the top end talent in John Jaren. They made a trade to move Bane off, and they added Cedric Coward, who they believe in. I don't know if that's good enough to be a good team in the Western Conference. Maybe it is. Maybe John and Jaren are just awesome next year, and that there's a possibility of that. But
yeah. Well, also
I see them as a play-in team.
Yeah, me too.
Fair.
I think that they're probably like this first play-in spot. And like a lot of it is not because like they're so awesome, but it's because I don't trust any of these teams here below them.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess if we're getting to that tier, so I have the Blazers in that spot, but I have them below the Grizzlies just because, I mean, look, man, the Grizzlies, like they have a track record.
Yeah.
This was the 2 seed all year until everybody got hurt. And I mean, I just think that they are a better team than maybe we would give them credit for, but they took a step back, in my opinion. I mean, you lose Desmond Bane. They chose to take a step back. It's a great asset play. I get it.
Yeah.
But I have them a little bit higher than you guys. I have the Blazers as my first, like on the bubble play-in team, right? I think that they could make the play-in.
So I guess my pitch for the Blazers is that like they were the dark horse. I would put them probably in the dark horse category, not dark horse like contender, but dark horse to slip into like the top 8 or top 6 if they have an incredible season. Now there's a couple of things that have to happen there. Their defense has to be just as good as it was for the second half of the year, which was like top 10. And I think they even got better defensively by letting go of DeAndre Ayton, to be honest with you. Adding Drew
more
Holiday.
clinging is only going to make their defense better.
And
right.
Simons too, by the way.
Yeah.
And letting go of Simon, swapping in Holiday. Like their defense should be very, very good. Like I would imagine we will have a lot of athletic pieces breaking down this Portland Trail Blazers defense and why it's so special. That's basically how it's going to end up being next season. They're going to be a media darling team in my, kind of, I don't know though. Like in the West, How are they going to score offensively? It's a lot of pressure on Denny Avdia. It's a lot of pressure on Scoot Henderson. A lot of pressure on Shaedon Sharpe. Yep. And maybe those guys are ready to take the next step. But that's the question that has me battling between play-in and dark horse here. Yeah.
I do worry about the scoring. I don't know. Like, who is Denny going to be their leading scorer next year? Or is it Shaedon Sharpe?
Absolutely. I think it's Denny. I think he gets unleashed even more than he was last year. But the thing is, for me, it's the lack of depth. Like, there's no one else I can think of that's going to come off the bench in that second unit and maintain anything. Even if that first group goes off, which we've seen them be able to stay in games. Those were the games, right, last year that we kept being like, guys, you got to watch the NBA. It's actually a lot of fun. Portland was often the team on the other side of the ball in those kind of conversations. But I don't know. I'm literally looking. I was like, let me look up the roster. I'm like, I don't know what else they have. I mean, I don't hate the defense on Toumani Camara, but
yeah, right. Toumani Camara. I think they have pretty good depth at the center position with Rob Williams and Duop Reith. Like, Jeremy Grant is still a basketball player.
Matisse Thybulle is still a basketball player.
Matisse Thybulle is still a basketball player.
Are these big time scorers?
Jeremy Grant shot 38% from 2.
Yeah, that was crazy. I remember hearing that stat in Slam and Jam. That's nuts.
I don't know what Jeremy Grant. I mean, I guess you can't get worse than that. Is maybe like the argument for Jeremy Grant.
I'm fine. I'm fine with putting Portland here. My argument would be that there's honestly for Memphis too. There's upside for them to move into that next category if all things play out well. If they have a couple of their top end guys go off offensively, you know.
Yeah. I put them in the play-in category. I don't know if I put them in the top half of the play-in category though. I feel like they're one of those teams that has to play 2 games to get in there. Whereas I see Memphis being, as I think you mentioned, Andrew or Dave, but being that team that ends up at the top, just needs 1 win to get in, because they do have 2 players that know how to score and also know what it takes to get into that playoff conversation. So Portland right now does not.
This is the next step is where it gets interesting. It's like, do you guys have any other teams in the play-in category?
Yeah, I have Lakers and Mavericks as the rest of my play-in.
Okay.
Whoa.
I'm with you. You look at the rest of the teams. It's like, who else are you putting there? Like, Clippers had a great year.
Yep.
Like, I think the Warriors are somewhere in between this area as well.
Yep.
I think Spurs are somewhere.
Spurs are probably in there.
Yep. Okay.
And then the other teams you can.
So you guys have the Mavs in the play-in, huh?
I think. Yeah. I don't know about that. Don't put me in the you guys. I think I'm looking at them as a dark horse.
Okay, list me 3 guards on the Mavericks.
I know.
Brandon Williams. Yeah,
I was gonna say
D'Angelo Russell. That's all the name I need.
There.
Yeah,
that's a play-in ass point guard.
I'm sorry. He is a play-in.
That is a play-in ass point guard. You got D'Lo as your point guard.
But maybe he will be encouraged by his surroundings in having, the opportunity to play with AD again.
This is me taking all of the positive.
He'll be encouraged by his surroundings to take the ball all the time.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're playing. But the thing is, they're going to be missing Kyrie Irving all year. The play-in is a great spot for them. That's an amazing season for them without Kyrie.
They'll actually.
So you guys don't think there was enough out of Max Christie towards the end of the season that you saw? Like, when Max Christie, we loved talking about AD going over to Dallas and how he was doing, and he played well. But Max Christie, I thought, was unleashing and unlocking something as well.
I agree.
During that time.
But he's not a guard. He's like a wing to me. He's like a shooting guard. Ball, like off
2 dribbles. He can make 2 dribbles. He can't set up your offense. Like, I mean, it's similar to like it's kind of like what Milwaukee is dealing with. Who is dribbling for you? You know, who is going to put the ball on the ground and make plays for the guys? And they just don't have that. Like,
I will say, I think the Lakers. I know the offseason isn't done yet, but I do think there's a chance the Lakers can be in the next category.
100%.
Like,
they need a starting center. That's. I mean, look, DeAndre Ayton is a great signing. Like, it's very little money, and if he's a backup, it's great. I don't like him as their starter, right? Like that doesn't get you into the playoffs as far as I'm concerned. He would have to really do something different than what he's done.
I think there's a chance him and Luka look good together. Like Luka will make his life
he
incredible.
Should.
Easy,
yes.
Right?
I love DeAndre Ayton as a player. Like when he's playing and forceful, I mean, I'd love to watch him play, right? Like he looks like someone designed, in a computer, what a basketball player is supposed to look like and move like and shoot like, and like everything is so smooth and textbook. It's that force and effort that's always lacking with him. And maybe this is what he needs, I guess, to get him going. Maybe like he's motivated because it's a contract year. And I mean, he does like money. So we'll see. The nice thing is, again, I've said this, I'll repeat it again. Like the weather in LA is great. So it's very easy to keep motivated during the winter. Maybe that's a thing for him. I will get hopefully something closer to that 2021 season out of him. I mean, I
think they'll also make a trade. They'll do something here to add more. It just depends on what it is. I don't know. I think the Lakers have also the LeBron situation it kind of puts a cloud over everything they're doing right now too. So you don't know if he's going to be on the team next year. Although that sounds crazy to say. But yeah, I would probably put the Lakers more as a dark horse than a play-in team. But I understand that there's 4 teams that have to beat.
Yeah.
So this is what I want to understand. I'll say this. This method of doing this exercise is actually incredibly difficult, going from the bottom upwards. I know it's normally the way it's done. I'm just saying it always is so tough. So just understand, we've got contenders, fringe contends, dark horses, play-in, and gas station sandwiches. And how many teams do you guys want to do per tier?
We don't have to have a specific.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to have 4 in this tier,
right?
Like if we believe the Lakers are,
I feel like the play-in category is the only category that makes sense to have 4 because there's quite literally 4. And then, but I am like, it feels really bottom heavy right now.
Well,
and I feel like the Lakers I can see the Lakers and Dallas being in that dark horse category. I know what you're talking about, like still thinking about Dallas. I'm like, does Dante Exum become kind of like a Malcolm Brogdon? And he kind of becomes that person that brings the ball up and sets things up. Like, could they do that?
He can do a little bit of that. Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I've seen it. I can see it. But yeah, I feel like
do a lot of squinting to see some of these things.
Yeah.
Maybe that's fair.
I can't believe I've been replaced as the optimist here, where Zena is just like, well, yeah, what if Dante Exum is like a totally better player than he's ever shown us he is? I love it.
He was hurt. He came back from being hurt. Okay. Like maybe give him the off season as well. Like you don't know. And
I love Dante Exum. I think he's been pretty good. But again,
it's Pokemon cards. Like what's not to like?
But if you're going into your season saying, hey, what if Dante Exum has a great year? That's a problem.
But we don't need a great year, right? These teams don't need a great year. They need roles filled. I think that's
the Mavericks need a guard to have a great year if they're going to be something above the play-in.
Can I make my pitch for the Lakers being the dark horses? The fact that Luka Doncic is going to have a full season and a full summer under his
belt. He looks so skinny right now.
Sure. We can do the skinny talk about the offseason too, but I do think that matters. He will be healthier, hopefully, heading into this season. That in itself, it's sort of like Giannis with the Bucks, where it's like you have a talent that good that should put you in the category to at least be a dark horse in the playoffs. That's my pitch. Lakers.
I think I agree. I think I agree with you.
I'm with that.
And what's going to happen? This happens every single year. Is there is going to be unforeseen injuries that happen to some team that's going to push them down to the gas station sandwich tier.
Sure. Yeah,
and it just happens. It happens every single year. You don't know who it's going to be. New Orleans was probably in the play-in dark horse area last year. A crazy amount of injuries pushed them all the way down. And so it's going to happen to somebody. And so everybody will get rearranged here due to unforeseen injuries.
Well, Jaren Jackson has turf toe. Like we're already there, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that could happen again.
Okay. And he's having surgery on this toe.
He already had surgery.
Okay.
Successful. Yeah.
Turf toe. Amazing timing on that turf toe.
It's
the day after the contract.
timing. I think AJ Mitchell had it and missed 3 months with the Thunder, and is feeling good now. And so I think that's a realistic timeline for Jaren too.
Garland too, right? I think Garland had something with his toe.
Garland too. Although Jaren has a much bigger toe. So.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I got my turf toe is bad. Like I don't know if you guys have ever injured a toe, but it's pretty rough. Yeah, it's pretty rough. I imagine if you're a 7-footer, it's even worse.
Yeah. And Edey, we don't know how long Zach Edey is going to be out for, so maybe Memphis jumps back in the who knows.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep Memphis in that
has
play
the potential to be extremely bad next year. If anything happens to Jaren, right? Like they are just off a cliff. We already know Ja's not going to be out there for at least 20 games. Like just pencil that in. So Memphis, I think, has a very, very harsh drop off coming this season. If any one thing happens to them that's bad.
Yeah.
Can I say something that's anti-NBA podcaster?
What's up?
Yes. Always.
Should we just put the Spurs here?
No. Put them at the top. I think they're the one game in of the play-in. That's exactly what I was going to say next.
Like
what did you say?
They're at the top of the play-in. Yeah, I think that's about right.
I think they're top of the play-in. That's what I was going to say.
Wait, next. I thought the top of the play-in was the one on the right. Anyways, visually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, I'm with you guys on the Spurs.
Yeah.
I feel like again, they're still figuring out what this is going to look like. You know, when you look, but they've got a lot of pieces that I'm into. Obviously, the young guys are good.
Yeah.
Luke Cornett, I love that signing so much.
That's a big signing.
I could do 15 minutes on that. Where
I think very much NBA podcast. You're talking about. Oh my gosh, that is the most podcaster you could do is talk about Luke Cornett.
They've done a good job. Although I think moving away from Mamu might have been a mistake. You know, I think
also NBA podcaster.
That's right.
Let's count him out. Let's
just
count him out.
You know, Luke is not as athletic as Mamu, and I feel like they could run into some issues playing Luke and Wemby together. Although I'm very much looking forward to
I'm so ready for the Mamu MIP season, man. Come on, let's cook.
I need it.
MIP.
But yeah, I think this is a good spot for the Spurs. I think they're in that play-in. You know, if they wound up the 6th seed, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be like, oh my God.
Exactly.
That's the high-end outcome.
If Wemby just has a top 5, top 10 season, and you know, I mean, like he was on pace to be a first-team All-NBA player last year before he got hurt. I don't know. There's just a world in which their upside is a lot higher than this, but I think playing.
What if Wemby's the best player in the league?
Yeah.
This year. Right? Like this is a realistic conversation about this guy. Like he might just be the best player in the league next year. I don't know.
Are his teammates ready as well?
Entirely.
There at least are more guys. I mean, having De'Aaron Fox and we've all I think we've all gone through a roller coaster of thoughts on having De'Aaron Fox there. I think it was a good move. Like I understand it. And now they've gotten lucky in the lottery. It feels superfluous to have him a little bit, but he's a really good player, and they barely got to play together last year. You know, they did not get much run with the two of them. So I don't know. I mean, the Spurs' upside is home court advantage in the playoffs, right? I mean, this is a team that if Wemby is a first-team All-NBA guy, let's say he's like
Harper, a rookie of the year type of season.
This is a home court in the playoffs team potentially. But it's all about what happens with Wemby, and you know. In the chat, we're being asked about Wemby's blood clot issue. I mean, my assumption is he wouldn't be doing kung fu with the Shaolin monks.
He wouldn't be playing soccer in France if it was still a problem. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
so
flying, and mind you, flying to those places, right?
Yeah.
That's the number one thing.
Yeah.
He seems like a guy who's like been let outside for the first time in a long time. You know, he's popping up everywhere, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
So I'm hoping that this is a good sign for next season.
Who are the?
I'm going to be NBA podcastery. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, who are the 3 best shooters on the Spurs?
Wemby.
Yep.
Luke
Cornett.
Like we need to space the floor for Wemby, right?
Let's see.
Right.
Like this is about spacing the floor for Wemby. This is a floor spacing question.
Wemby,
Champagne.
Keldon Johnson, probably.
Keldon Johnson.
Is Harrison Barnes still there?
Yeah, he is still there.
Yeah. So Harrison Barnes is probably like.
Yeah.
So are these like, oh my gosh, they've got the ball, we've got to close out to him, guys?
Honestly, Keldon Johnson, like he shot 32% the last 2 years for the Spurs.
Harrison Barnes,
and so did Luke Cornett, by the way.
Yeah, Luke Cornett doesn't shoot anymore that much. He used to at the start of his career, but he doesn't.
So I don't know if we would
anymore.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Just want to throw a little bit of podcasting cold water on the Spurs. They don't have shooting.
Hey, by the way, Carter Bryant, their rookie, might end up being one of their best shooters.
Hey, and he can defend, so he's going to get playing time there.
Yeah, but to your point, Andrew, it's a rookie that you're throwing in there and saying he's one of both shooters on the team. So
for me, it was definitely Julian Champagnie and Keldon Johnson. Like even if their percentages weren't there, they hit timely shots, both of them throughout the season. But I'm
Devin Vassell. We forgot about Devin Vassell. He's the guy. He's the best.
Yeah. But one thing I'll also say, we cannot underestimate what having Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul on this team last year did for them. I feel like those veterans literally got them into shape, like whipped them into order. And, Chris Paul obviously is looking to leave. That was only a 1-year deal. And Harrison Barnes doesn't seem like he's going anywhere, but whatever, I think how much De'Aaron Fox can step up as a veteran, I think is going to be really huge and indicative beyond just what he does on the court basketball wise, but just keeping them in order, because that every time you looked at a bench, it was, Chris Paul telling folks where to be, coaching up Stephon Castle, coaching up to Devin Vassell, even coaching up De'Aaron Fox. So I think on top of the basketball, it's definitely who can make sure that those young guys know where they need to be and know what they need to be focused on in that moment, alongside a Wemby, who's also very incredibly mature already.
It's a great point.
They also they're one MIP type of season away from being a top 4 team. Like if Vassell or Castle or someone along the lines of that has a really, really good season, then they're in a different conversation here, right? Like
Castle was MIP. I am.
He should.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
No, I know. I said MIP type season,
right?
Like not.
Castle was
actual.
good last year. I don't see it. Look, I don't see it with Vassell or Keldon Johnson. To be honest with you, like those are. I don't think about those guys really as even long-term pieces. I think Vassell over Keldon Johnson
for sure.
But man, somebody in the chat said Sam Hauser.
I agree with that.
Eric Weiss. Sam Hauser would be great there. Like they could use that sort of a shooter.
Yeah.
A real floor spacer who's willing to be a high volume 3-point guy. I mean, like if Klay Thompson somehow was to land there, that's the kind of shooter that they really are missing. And that would be a game changer for them.
Yeah. It'd be great to have the greatest shooter of all time.
Right?
So the Warriors are in the next category, are in Dark Horse, right?
Yeah, Warriors here, Clippers here as well. Yes.
I would put the Clippers one up.
Yeah, same.
Okay. I have the Clippers.
After their playoff performance, I would put the Clippers on fringe contends as well.
Okay, talk to me.
I have Clippers and Wolves in that range.
In the fringe contends?
Together. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with that. I
honestly think the Thunder should be in a category of their own, by the way, but that's another conversation. But
I just think you're going to get another season of that wonderful duo of James Harden and Ivica Zubac. And we saw that James Harden found a way to play defense this past season. And he was actually really good at just getting his hands in stuff. And that defense was actually on display throughout the playoffs, except for that last game against Denver. But we also get, hopefully, a longer season of Kawhi Leonard. And I don't know, we know his injury situation is always precarious. However, it seemed like things were clicking towards the end of the season in terms of his ability to get back on the floor.
I'm going to be real with you, Zena. I think they should copy and paste exactly what they did last season.
They did. Yep.
Yeah.
Not like play.
You mean not playing him?
Yeah.
Kawhi, you're not playing for the first 20 games of the year. We have our infrastructure here. We'll see you December 30th.
He played 37 games, and the Clippers still won 50 games last year. This is my thing with the Clippers. It's like they are a pretty good basketball team in the regular season, even without their best player. And when Kawhi was playing, I mean, Kawhi looked like the best player on the court. On some of those nights in a series that had Nikola Jokic. You know, I just that's a guy that he can win a title by himself. And if he could just be healthy, get into the playoffs, I think that they got I mean, they had a shot this year at a
They
title.
did.
They pushed the Nuggets. The Nuggets obviously pushed the Thunder. I just feel like they were a team that was easy to overlook because they didn't have Kawhi all year, you know, and then, you know, you get back and like that. Remember the first stretch with Kawhi? He didn't look great. And we were like, oh, maybe this isn't going to be their year. And then by the time he gets to the playoffs, he was
things
amazing.
were clicking. Exactly. I think that's the main reason I have them as fringe contenders. Like the more, I mean, I know you guys are saying copy and paste. Either way, the more he plays, the more he's available to the Clippers.
For sure.
He's just put in a great position. Norman Powell played phenomenally while Kawhi was out. And I really, really liked Ben Simmons coming in for this team, especially on the defensive end. Like it allowed them to have some different looks. Yeah,
well, they probably won't have Ben Simmons again this year, but they will have Brook Lopez, and I think So the stat that I've been throwing around is the Clippers were 15 points per 100 possessions worse with Zubac off the floor. Brook Lopez will at least provide them with a baseline of competency defensively in like 18 minutes a night, 20 minutes a night. It doesn't have to be the 35 minutes that he would play for the Bucks or the 30 minutes that he would play for the Bucks. This is a guy who has to play backup minutes and can provide them with the look as like a stretch five, knock down shots. I think the connection with him and Harden will be good. I like that move so much that I would probably put them as fringe contenders.
Yeah.
Warriors are old, by the way. This is my biggest Warriors issue. These guys are old. I mean, what's it going to look like when Jimmy Butler has to miss 30 games?
Yeah.
And I mean, Steph has become at this point, you got to be very careful with Steph, I think, because it's all about the playoffs. And even Draymond, like these guys they're pretty old. And when the core of your team in an 82 game season is old, like we've just seen this too many times.
Yeah. And they're trying to get older, by the way.
Getting Al Horford. I respect to Al Horford. He was great last year. But man, I just cannot wrap my head around these NBA teams treating the human body like 38 years old isn't like reality.
Yeah.
It is odd to me that
like 5 years ago, it would have made sense.
But. Yeah, we're hinging our entire season. And this is really what it is. Like Al Horford, that's a season signing. Like they are doing this saying Al Horford is the move that puts us over the top. That feels risky.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to sign Chris Paul too while you're at it. Trade for LeBron. Get all the guys who are over 36.
Yeah.
Just whole roster. Do the opposite of the Thunder. See if you can just play zone all year. Like that's a way to get those old guys into the playoffs. Just we're going to zone up 2-3 zone. No big deal.
Okay.
Don't get back on defense every time. Play like pickup and see if you can see how that works.
I still trust Steph Curry, though.
Of course.
That's my thing. I can't count him out.
Yeah. I think they're still a dark horse. I think if they stayed healthy, I think that
they would have beaten the Wolves.
I think they would have beaten the Wolves as well.
100%.
So I think and this is what happens when you have an older team is like the conversation is all about if you're healthy. Same with the Clippers, like is Kawhi at 34? He just turned 34. Happy birthday, Kawhi. How much can we trust that his body's going to hold up? Because it is inevitable that there is going to just be like this drop dead date for him that it's like, and now it's over.
He's the oldest 34-year-old in pro sports.
Undeniably. Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's unfair to him, that this has happened to his body. Like it just is, but it's just a harsh reality for the Clippers. And I agree with you. Like, hey, they have proven that with the coaching and with the roster they have, they can be fine in the regular season. And so just like let Kawhi go on vacation and rehab until February. And
he should be living in San Diego until Christmas.
Yep.
It's actually a bad sign if he plays like 60 games.
I agree. I honestly agree.
I definitely agree with that.
If he ends up being a guy who plays tries to make an all NBA team next year, that's the wrong direction. I think they need to just work for the playoffs.
Okay. What do we do with Minnesota?
I have them in that fringe with the Clippers. I had them if I was ranking them in order, I had the Wolves 4 and the Clippers 5.
I actually put the Wolves in dark horse.
Oh, you did?
Oh
wow.
Whoa. I mean, I just look, this team now they've got a track record with Anthony Edwards as their best player the last couple seasons. They mostly brought everybody back. I mean, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think, is going to be a big loss, but
huge loss.
But I actually think Terrence Shannon is going to play for them, and I think he's going to be pretty good. I mean, judging by the way he looked in the spot minutes in the playoffs, I like him a lot. I think he's got he came in with an NBA body, which I'm, as a big guard, I think that's pretty good. Dillingham, they probably are hopeful for, but the core of this team is still the same. I think they'll have some improvement. I mean, if you look at the way they finished the year, and by the time they got to the playoffs, like they kind of got hot, but also they had improved just schematically. Like everybody kind of understood their role. Julius Randle was not, he didn't look the way he looked in the first half of the season, which was, where do I fit? I mean, he really did seem to understand his role by the end of the year, and it was a huge difference. So I think that they're a better team than even what we saw this past season. I do think that they got to figure out how they're going to replace Nickeil, but otherwise, I don't think that they've taken like this massive drop off. I think they're still a pretty good team.
The only argument to take them out of this tier, and I agree with you, I think they should be in this tier, is that Gobert is 1 year older, Conley is 1 year older, and so you're asking a lot from, you talked about that drop off. Like, when is that drop off going to happen for Rudy Gobert? It probably has a little bit already.
Oh, it has for sure.
Right. So when is the kind of bottom going to fall out from, you know what I mean? That's
the same time though. Anthony Edwards is going to be better.
Right.
So I actually think that I would keep them here. They made the conference finals 2 years in a row.
I agree. Yeah.
It never felt like, oh my gosh, they're going to be in the NBA finals because of who they were playing. But like, I do think that they deserve this kind of respect. And the Nickeil thing is tough. Terrence Shannon is a fine player, but there were times where he doesn't know his limits yet. And that was very clear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Also, Nickeil, there's something about these Canadian guys. I'm not sure what it is, but they will take a tough jumper.
It's true.
And having, look at Andrew Nembhard in the finals. Just one of the first shots of, what was it, game one? Like mid-range jumper.
Yep.
And that's too, right? There's something about having a guy like Nickeil who is willing to, shoot that dribble pull up. And to be able to guard the way he does. I think that's impossible to replace right now. But if they can get some sort of, between Terrence Shannon and Rob Dillingham, if they could get 75% of Nickeil, then they're going to do okay. Because by the time you get to the playoffs, I think that they're going to be a better team than they are today.
I also like Clark for them. I think he was a pretty good defender, point of attack guy. Just like that trio might be able to supplement the downfall of Mike Conley and the minutes where Nickeil might play.
The downfall?
No, I'm kidding.
We're toppling the Mike Conley regime in Minnesota.
I agree with your flip-flop, by the way. So you moved Minnesota behind the Clippers. I would probably put the Clippers ahead of them.
They deserve the respect because they've made the conference finals 2 years in a row, something that the Clippers did not do. And so I think Edwards is going to get better. I think the experience against the Thunder really opened his eyes. Like, oh my gosh, I've got to be so much better than I was, because he was not good against the Thunder.
No,
it was not a good series for him. And so he
wasn't great against the Warriors either.
Yeah,
he wasn't consistent.
No, he
wasn't. That is why I have them between dark horses and fringe contends. 1 second. I have them between fringe contends and dark horses because I think that their season completely swings on how much Anthony Edwards can take a next step up. And particularly after watching the tape of Anthony Edwards be inconsistent and being able to finish in the paint, I don't know how much the West has picked up on how to guard him and how to contain him and how to shut him down. Julius Randle had to do a lot of work in those playoffs to continuously get them to the next level, to get them to the next game. And, that's fine to be able to have both of them in your backcourt to be able to handle that. But they're going to need Anthony Edwards to start from the beginning of the season, knowing his role and how he can show up. Dave, as you mentioned earlier in the season last year, we had Anthony Edwards telling reporters, I don't know what to do. I don't know how people, as people are guarding me, I literally don't know what to do, et cetera. Sure, they figured that out, but they also figured that out with a Nickeil Alexander-Walker beside him. And so now it's a question of, that role is going to change a little bit again. And I don't know that Jaden McDaniels is enough to, fill that hole, or Rob Dillingham or Terrence Shannon. I actually think that the same concern y'all have about Terrence Shannon now knowing his limits, I think Rob Dillingham has that too. We saw him get in foul trouble, and he's small. Exactly. So I'm like, this is completely hinged upon Anthony Edwards taking that next step mentally out there. I think he definitely feels like a leader, and I love his transparency when they don't have things figured out. But other teams are probably picking up on what happened last year and say, all right, maybe we can shut this down even sooner to not even get them in a position where they can fight for, being in the conference finals again. I just think everyone's going to keep getting better at figuring out how to handle Anthony Edwards. This is the first time they've seen Julius Randle in this role. Now they kind of know what he's going to be like alongside him. I don't know. And Rudy Gobert, we know what he's capable of doing. Nothing is quite literally. I have never seen a player that in his time has not found a way to get better throughout his time. That said, he's a great defender, but like still making moves inside that, the skill level. I'm just like, and I'm not even trying to crap on him or anything like that, but it's just like, I want to see Rudy Gobert develop something offensively. But I just feel like that has been stagnant. The main thing that can get better is Anthony Edwards and maybe those young guys coming off the bench. We'll see.
Yeah.
By the way, I was reminded when we were talking about Kawhi, I was reminded this guy tried to play in the Olympics.
Oh my God, that's right.
Like, okay, this guy.
Oh my gosh.
So maybe we actually are a little too hopeful that they are going to manage him. Yeah, he wants to play. This is never. Yeah. This is also. I mean, he's got a little bit of a bad rep. Like Kawhi, from everything I've heard, like Kawhi, like really wants to play all the time. He just can't.
That whole conversation.
Yeah, it's such a But I was reminded of that. So that is something that's. I think he's probably going to try to play 60 games, 65 games.
I found a future picture of Zena waiting for Rudy Gobert to get more.
Oh no.
Okay.
Wait, what?
This is what you're going to look like by the time Rudy Gobert can catch a basketball.
This is when Rudy Gobert develops hands.
Thing is, he's a Hall of Famer at the thing that he's amazing at, right? Like,
right.
He is so good.
Absolutely.
Right? But man, the limitations are there. I think expecting a leap out of Anthony Edwards is probably, I would bet money on that. I think he's probably going to be better this year than he was last year.
Yeah.
His comments during the Thunder's that Thunder series were incredible to me. Like when he was talking about those guys being five puppets on one string.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This guy gets it. And it's going to be, like we've seen this with other guys. They're going to have to figure out a way to put some pieces around him. But like that team is already really good. And if he pops, they could be in the finals. I mean, again, it's 2 times in a row they've been in the conference finals.
Yeah.
I might be even too low on the Wolves when I consider.
Oh, I think I'm too low on the Wolves.
Maybe, right?
I'm a little too low on the
track
Wolves.
record and Anthony Edwards like clearly being like improving at like month by month still at this point in his career. I could still be low on them, but
yeah. And he has a growth mindset where like you think about the response from him and from Ja.
Yep.
Where Ja was like, we had the Thunder figured out. Like we had him completely figured out. And then the response from Anthony Edwards is, wow, they have it figured out and we have a long way.
How do we get there?
That's true.
So I really, that to me is, and it's just these like these little things. It's the mentality is so crucial for all NBA players to like, especially if you're at the top level, if you're thought of as like the guy, and if your mentality is like Ja has been like this for years and years now. It's we have it figured out. We're fine in the West.
We're not worried in the West.
It's all these things where it's there's no self-awareness. And then Anthony Edwards, who's outspoken, he says a lot of stuff, but
thoughtful though.
Into a lot of it,
he's insightful, he's thoughtful, he's transparent.
Yes, I think that is the reason why the Wolves should be as high as they are.
Can I do the Michael Jordan thing?
Yeah.
Okay. I grew up a Bulls fan, because WGN was beamed into every household in America. So I got to watch a lot of Bulls games. I hated the Pistons so much because the Pistons were better than the Bulls, right? Like they were older, they were more seasoned. They had a great team. And I watched this interview the other day, actually, of Jordan after losing that last series that they lost, that last conference finals that they lost to the Pistons in 90. And he talked about how they are where we want to be. And we got to learn, we got to learn the lessons from them on how to beat them. Yeah. And that is really exactly the stuff that Anthony Edwards was saying in the playoffs. And this stuff, like, it stuck out to me that this guy is thinking about how do we match what the Thunder are doing? Like, how do we build what they've built? How do we play the way they've played? And he's never been a guy that's shy to guard anyone. I mean, this is one of the reasons why Anthony Edwards, like, we all kind of want him to be the face of the league, whatever that means, because he's willing to take the shot. He's willing to guard a guy. He's, he will make the pass if that's the right play to make. And then there's all the other reasons that he kind of reminds us of Michael Jordan. But the fact that he wants to be better and you see it and you can hear it from him, like, this isn't just someone who's going through the motions. Like, he's actually processing this stuff in real time. I'm a believer in him. And so, like, I think that they're probably going to wind up in that contender range. Like, if we did this again come, Christmas time, we probably are going to be moving them up into that top tier. I just believe in Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, now we just got compared to Luther Vandross.
I love it.
In the late 90s. I'll take that. Ben.
I'll take that.
That too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that the Thunder are the top tier contender. Are we
100%.
putting, I mean, to me, it's Denver's here. I still feel like I need to see more.
I agree with this.
I want to see Houston before I put them in this contender tier. I know a lot of people have put them second in the West, and like the odds makers have them there. It's like, hey,
Andrew, your turn to say it. It's your turn to say it. Are you ready?
What am I saying?
They haven't done it before.
They have? No, they haven't. And their best scorer, the guy who's the engine of the offense, is 37 years old.
That's right.
He's entering. He's not 37 yet. He will be 37 by the time the season starts. And it's like I would worry about that a lot. It was the reason why for months we heard reports that the Rockets are not even interested in Kevin Durant. Like, they're not in on this. Like, they want Devin Booker. They want a younger star.
He doesn't fit their timeline.
Doesn't fit the timeline.
Right.
Like, I think it's a great fit. I think it can work. I think they can be very good. But let's see how healthy they are in April. And let's see how the offense comes together.
Well, let's talk about the offense, because this is the thing. And I always have this concern. I mean, I had this concern with KD when he was in Phoenix. Where do the easy buckets come from? Is it Kevin Durant? Is it Kevin Durant turnaround jumper? Is that the easy buckets for them? Because remember, this was the problem for them. They don't really have an offensive philosophy. It's a lot of beat your guy. And
the easy buckets come from the lobs. Like, their lob threat.
Who's running the pick and roll?
I mean, we saw Fred VanVleet do it with Amen Thompson. We saw them get in the paint and get it up to Tari Eason. I'm not defending them in terms of, like, they got a lot of easy buckets.
Yeah.
But to define the category of what their easy buckets were, it's basically they're super athletic guys getting behind the line of the defense and jumping up higher than the other person for a lob. But that requires someone that can get into the paint. That requires someone that can come off the pick and roll well. But and having a threat in which, Alperen Şengün grabs attention that allows an Amen Thompson or Tari Eason to come into the dunker spot. But yeah, I think that's their only easy buckets right now. We'll see if their outside shooting is a thing.
My thing is this. The Rockets were second in the West last year with a pretty putrid offense regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Bad half-court offense, bad fourth-quarter offense, not a great clutch team. Fred VanVleet grenades at the end of the games. Like, that's how it was, right? And they still won, what was it, 50 games? 50-plus games? Something along the lines of that? I can't remember exactly what it was.
52?
Sure, but they were second in the West because of the defense. And I don't think the defense has dropped off. I would argue maybe even the defense has gotten better because you don't have to worry about Jalen Green.
Right.
And there's no real weak spot to poke at there. So they're still going to be a very, very good defensive team that can will themselves to games regardless. So regular season wise, they'll be good. I agree with the Kevin Durant part, wild card to make it to June and May at this point. But I I would probably still put them at the same level as Denver. And this is my conversation with you guys, like kind of the pitch I have for Denver is I would also put Denver in the fringe contenders category. So let me say this. I love what they've done this offseason. Added depth. I think Cam Johnson is a better basketball player than Michael Porter Jr. currently, provides a little bit something differently. The depth added is great. Jonas Valanciunas, having a backup big makes a lot of sense. Bruce Brown, ball handler, cutter, etc., works really well in their system. Tim Hardaway Jr., a shooter. Maybe they have some other guys step up. I just think there's a reason that those guys went for vet min contracts. Like there's a reason that nobody else was out there maybe offering as much money. Maybe they wanted to go to Denver and play with Jokic. That's absolutely possible.
I think Bruce Brown, that's the real deal.
Sure. Yeah. But I still think there is a bit of prove it here for Denver with Jamal Murray's health, with him being available. I don't think he had
can he come into camp in shape?
Right. I don't think he had a great postseason. I think he had moments in the regular season where he was good, and he had moments in the playoffs where he was good, but they need him to be at a different level if they want to actually contend and beat an OKC or whoever else that they end up facing in the playoffs. That's my question with them. It's like, yes, they got deeper. They can go a little bit deeper into their bench, but when it comes to when push comes to shove,
what's their closing lineup?
It's probably their starting lineup.
Right.
It's probably their starting lineup. But is Jonas Valanciunas and Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr., are those guys going to give you winning minutes in a playoff series? Maybe, possibly. But I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, but the Nuggets are not built for that. The Nuggets are built for Jokic giving you winning moments. You know what I mean? And I think they've done a better job of making it so that he can do that.
I agree.
Like Tim Hardaway Jr. is like, if it's any other team, it's just a basic signing. But Tim Hardaway Jr. getting to play off of Jokic,
they absolutely got better this year. No question in my mind.
And they pushed the Thunder. I mean, pushed the Thunder. And I think if they beat the Thunder, they win the title. Yeah. So to me, the improvement that they made, that's enough to put them in the contender tier to me. I think it's them and it's OKC in the West. I don't know. Are we sure OKC should be at the top?
That's a great question.
Resting on their laurels, Andrew. Have they improved this offseason? I don't know.
Listen, they're underdogs going into next year. Okay.
Nobody believes in the Thunder.
Hey, I want to say I believe that the Nuggets can be very they could win the championship next year. I would not be surprised. I kind of wanted to be the wet blanket there and say, well, what if it doesn't go the way that they want?
What if it doesn't work?
Right.
What if Bruce Brown actually isn't as good as he was 3 years ago?
We've seen we've seen a team load up on depth, and we're like, wow, this team got so much deeper during the offseason. We can provide the hope that they've gotten better, but at the same time, if those guys don't pan out, then what's the next thing?
I mean, is Jonas Valanciunas a pumpkin? Is a real question.
Yeah.
I feel like I treat Jokic like I treat Steph, but now on another level, because he's also much larger. And he can do so many different things on so many different levels, but I can't count him out. And I can't count him out because the squad that they've put around him plays so well with him. And the people they've brought back in, I mean, and Bruce Brown at least have already played with him. Cam Johnson is smart enough to figure out how to play well with him. And Dave, you made a great point about Tim Hardaway Jr. being able to catch and shoot, be able to just flatten out to the corner and be a wide open target. Everything about this schematically makes me feel really happy about basketball being played. And so that's how I feel about OKC when I see them play. And so I'm like, that's why I put them in this contenders category. But it's interesting because we're looking at a team like the Clippers that's bringing back most of their team, or we're looking at a team like Minnesota who's bringing back most of their team. And I don't feel as confident with those teams as I do Denver bringing back their core group.
Yeah.
I think the skill level, the size, the two-way capability is just elevated on the Denver Nuggets. And that's why I feel comfortable putting them there. And then they got better with the people they added. So I don't know.
All I'm saying is that we should have the same energy for Houston as we have for Denver, and that they should probably be in the similar category. I agree. Jokic is better, and he's the best player of these teams, arguably the best player in the world. But I just think talent-wise, depth-wise, defense-wise, winning in the regular season-wise, Houston has just as good of a case as Denver does. That's my opinion.
That's real.
I would also say for Denver, like they get a training camp with David Adelman. Like they get to actually have some like continuity.
And maybe only David Adelman, by the way. They're apparently a little tight on money for hiring their coaching staff.
Yes, they are. Yes, it's a struggle, but they also don't have like the front office and the coaching staff fighting all year over what's happening within the roster and who's being played and who isn't playing. I think that they will have more. I think they will just have a better year, period, because they don't have the turmoil that's happening in the front office, because that stuff always trickles down in some form or fashion. And so I do think that they're going to be better this next year, in my opinion.
Apparently, they just hired Jared
Dudley and maybe JJ Barea.
Yeah.
Shout out to those two, leaving the league, becoming solid coaches across the NBA. Yeah. I think this goes back to the question of, do you have a guy or do you have guys? And you looked at the OKC versus Indiana. It was like a guy in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander not only being able to score but also distribute, and he was just the guy in that series. With Indiana trying to get past OKC with guys, and it wasn't enough. And I'm looking at Denver, and I'm like, they've got a guy. Absolutely, they have a guy. And I'm like looking at Houston, and they have a guy as well, but that one guy hasn't been with that team before. And that's where I get a little concerned about how does that fit. And I'm wondering, would you categorize Houston as being a team that has a guy or has guys?
I probably would say they're in the category of having both, because I believe in Kevin Durant's top end talent to get to that level. Again, he's old, so and he's had some injuries here where it's like, can he get to that point? Can he make it to May and June? Which I think is a valid question. Absolutely. I think the Rockets have both, though. Like, they can go 9 deep and they can win games that KD doesn't play. So that's the version of this team that ends up winning like 50 plus games, has one of the best defenses. And now you're looking at a team that can maybe, sort of the Clippers formula that we talked about, where it's like, hey, Kawhi might have to play 50 games or whatever, but they'll still be very good. Houston can probably do the same thing with KD in the sense that, like, he can play 50, 60 games and they'll still be good for most of the season because of that. So,
and that's without us, like, we're not even factoring in if a man takes some sort of a leap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they've got
that's
a
why
lot
I think Houston's
of
the guys. I think they're the guys team more so than a guy. And now it's like a matter of, okay, if I'm categorizing Houston as they got guys, do those guys, how do they measure up against a Jokic and his guys? And that's where I can't quite give Houston the edge yet, because I haven't seen it yet.
Right.
But we'll see. Yeah.
Andrew, let me ask you a question. Kind of seeing the improvements that Denver and OKC have made, or Denver and Houston have made. And obviously it's not like OKC has went out and made any crazy upgrades. They re-signed AJ Mitchell, re-signed SGA. Do you feel like they need to not make a tweak, but do you feel like they will add anything here in the next coming months or even before the trade deadline to sharpen up some of the offensive stuff?
Probably not.
Fair. Okay. Yeah, I figured, but it was a question. Like, is there a different level of urgency because these other teams, these contenders improved,
I think that the mindset is that, like, J-Dub and Chet are incredibly young. Had a bum wrist during the entire playoffs,
which is crazy. Yeah.
I think that they are counting on internal development to be the catalyst for improvement for them, and not somebody coming in. And so you think about Case and Wallace is entering year 3, and there's a lot of improvement to be had. Like, they are adding Nikola Topic to the team. We'll see what he can do. He'll be playing in Summer League.
Sorber,
NBA champion.
That's right, NBA champion Nikola Topic. Thomas Sorber will the dude is so young. I talked to him the other day, and the braces,
still got braces. Yeah,
young face. I was just like, oh my gosh, I am so old. When I was talking to him, yeah, I mean, as far as like adding to it, like they are wanting to sustain what they have while getting better internally, and I think like that's like the real move for them. Because they are going to have to pay they're going to have to pay these guys, and they're going to have to figure out how to make it all work. And a lot of it works with internal development, draft picks, scouting, so they'll all get better. There's probably only a few guys on the team that you can say probably will be who they are. And that's like probably Caruso, Kenrich Williams,
Hardenstein. Right. Yeah.
Hardenstein's still like 27.
Yeah.
Like he got better this year too. And like being with the Thunder for another year and like figuring out how to expand his game and like how to better play with Chet.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. Yeah.
These are all guys like he's in his prime. I think that Chet and J-Dub are still years away from their primes. I think it would be hasty to try to like add a big piece to this team just because you want to allow room for others to grow within it. I think Cason Wallace is a guy that can really grow into like a much bigger role.
Oh yeah.
Here. And he was already in a big role for them, but he's a guy that I think can be better. I think hopefully Chet can be healthy. If he's healthy, like that's a guy that needs space to grow into a bigger role. So
that's the big one. That's the big one. Like it's Chet. Last year it was J-Dub making the All-Star leap, and like this year it's can Chet stay healthy? Can he vie for a Defensive Player of the Year award? Can he make All-Star? Like that's the goal for OKC, I think.
Yeah, it's hard. Like the teams that have won the championship the last several years have not made it out of the second round. So like it is hard to compete year after year after year. So the Thunder are going to have to like find their way out of like some of the growing pains that are going to happen for them. Like that is going to happen to them. And it's like mentality wise, can they continue to push? You just like, I've been around the organization a lot and around a lot of people there. Like it's very motivating just as a person, just to be around these people, and so like they have all the right ingredients there. And now it's just about like, hey, can we put together another run? What does that look like?
And outrun the scouting report. Right?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Everybody has more film on the Thunder than any other team. And so now you got to outrun the scouting report.
Teams are going to defend them better. They will not be the same team. Even though they have the same people on the team, they won't be the same team next year. Like they will be a different team in ways just because these guys are so young and they're still growing and they're learning and evolving. Like that will happen.
There's low-hanging fruit.
They'll be intentional about No, I think they'll be intentional with their evolution too. Like I think it's clear that J-Dub wants to work on some things this offseason. Even, Shea, definitely Chet, offensively and developing more consistently his outside shot. Like every single one of these guys is putting in work this summer to show up differently on top of just getting stronger, faster, better, all the above. Sorry, Dave, what were you saying?
Oh, no, I was just saying, no, there's low-hanging fruit for their offense, half court. Like they just, their offensive philosophy in the half court could improve significantly and it will make their lives easier.
Well, that was my thing. It's like, the 3-point volume, 3-point shooting, getting that to a point where it's sustainable. I think Chet plays a big part in that, to be honest with you. Him becoming a more comfortable 3-point shooter is a big part of what they need to take stepwise offensively. But yeah, I guess you're right. Just roll with it developmentally and see what happens. I would be very surprised if they end up making
They won a title. I think that they're doing great.
There is that.
Doing good. You'll be doing good too if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the like button. We would appreciate that. We appreciate everybody that tuned in live with us here for the morning shoot around. This is super fun. It's great to kind of hang out with our listeners and get a more long form show in. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Leave us a comment on Spotify. You can do that if you didn't know. Maybe you're listening on Spotify right now. Maybe you didn't have any idea. Leave us a nice comment on Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'll continue to churn out podcasts. We will be at Summer League, by the way. And so we'll be
say hi if you're going to be there.
Yeah, we'll be doing live shows on Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, the first 2 days. I think it's first I think there's games
Friday, Saturday,
Thursday night. Yeah.
Yeah. So Friday, Saturday, we'll be doing shows live on the concourse. Would love to talk to you guys and to meet some listeners there. Really appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you guys again tomorrow.